But listening to you talk about that tree stand and how much you love Dad and how even all these years later.
The Dale Earnhardt mystery finally solved, and it isn't good. Dale Earnhardt was born Ralph Dale Earnhardt on April 29, 1951 in Kannapolis, North Carolina. The son of a legendary stock car driver, Dale grew up surrounded by engines, grease, and the roar of southern speedways. His father, Ralph Earnhardt, was known for his fierce racing style and stubborn work ethic. From a young age, Dale knew he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps.
For his fearless driving style, Dale dominated his sport. Here is Dale Earnhardt's story.
But the road wasn't easy. He dropped out of school in 9th grade to chase his dream, working in garages by day and racing by night. Money was tight, and his path to NASCAR wasn't paved with sponsors or privilege.
He was a racer. And racing was first, and everything else was second. Take no prisoners.
He fought his way up the ranks in local circuits, earning a reputation for being aggressive, fearless, and sometimes dangerous behind the wheel. That relentless drive would define him. In 1979, he burst onto the national scene, winning NASCAR's Rookie of the Year. Just 1 year later, he captured his first championship. Over the next 2 decades, he became one of the most dominant and recognizable names in racing history. With 7 Winston Cup titles and 76 wins, he was a true icon. But his legacy wasn't just about trophies, it was about attitude, the black car and the mustache. He wasn't just racing to win, he raced to conquer. Fans loved him, rivals feared him, sponsors couldn't get enough. But behind the scenes, danger was always one misstep away. And in 2001, it finally caught up with him. Because what happened on that day at Daytona would spark decades of confusion, contradiction, and quiet controversy. The truth was hidden for years. Until now. Earnhardt joined the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in 1979. He quickly earned respect on the track. That same year, he won Rookie of the Year. In 1980, he captured his first championship. He drove hard, took risks, and didn't back down. Over the next 2 decades, he became one of the most feared and admired drivers in the sport. He earned the nickname the Intimidator for a reason. His black number, 3 Chevrolet, became iconic. He raced with aggression and precision. By the late 1990s, he had won 7 championships and 76 Cup Series races. But one race always haunted him, the Daytona 500. He had come close many times, but only won it once in 1998. That victory was emotional. Crews from other teams lined up on pit road to congratulate him. It showed the respect he had earned over the years. In 2001, he entered Daytona confident and focused. The team looked strong. His son Dale Jr. and teammate Michael Waltrip were fast all weekend. Earnhardt wasn't just driving for himself. He was there to help them win. And on February 18th, he did just that. He was in 3rd place, protecting the lead for Waltrip and his son. With just 1 lap to go, everything changed. As the field raced through turn 4, Earnhardt's car shifted slightly. Sterling Marlin's front bumper made contact with Earnhardt's left rear. The number 3 Chevrolet turned sharply up the track. It hit the outside wall at over 150 miles per hour. Ken Schrader's car slammed into Earnhardt's passenger side just seconds later. The wreck looked routine by NASCAR standards. No fire, no flips, just a hard hit. There was no sense of urgency at first. Waltrip won the race. Dale Jr. came in second. But as the broadcast replayed the finish, something felt off. Earnhardt's car sat still against the wall. The window net didn't drop. That was the signal drivers used to show they were okay. Emergency crews rushed to the scene. Inside the car, they found Dale unresponsive. He was taken to Halifax Medical Center just minutes later. Fans waited for an update. Reporters stood outside the hospital, but no news came. NASCAR officials remained quiet, and behind the scenes, concern was already turning to fear. At the hospital, doctors worked quickly, but the injuries were too severe. Earnhardt had suffered a basilar skull fracture. The injury is almost fatal. NASCAR President Mike Helton made the announcement later that evening. Dale Earnhardt had died at the age of 49. The racing world was stunned. Fans gathered outside the hospital in silence. Flowers, hats, and photos were placed at the track gates. Drivers cried in their interviews. Many said they couldn't believe it. Dale had survived worse crashes before, but this one took him. It happened on the biggest stage in the sport, and it raised more questions than answers. Back at Daytona, crew members were still trying to process what had happened. Michael Waltrip had just won his first Daytona 500, but no one was celebrating. Dale Jr. stood next to his car with tears in his eyes. His father had helped him reach the front, and now he was gone. Reporters struggled to find the right words. The sport had lost its biggest name. The Intimidator was more than a driver. He was a symbol of grit and courage. And now, that era felt over. But as the mourning began, questions started forming. The official cause of death was listed as a basilar skull fracture, but within days, attention shifted to something else. NASCAR claimed Dale's seatbelt had broken. A belt designed to keep him in place had torn during the crash. That detail made headlines. The company that made the belt came under fire. It was run by Bill Simpson, a longtime safety expert. He denied the claim. He said the belt had been installed improperly. He said the blame was being shifted. The pressure was too much. Simpson resigned from his own company not long after. The belt was never sent to an outside lab for testing. No third party ever reviewed it. NASCAR stood by its statement, but critics raised doubts. If the belt really failed, why didn't Earnhardt's body move in a way that matched the brake? The questions kept growing, and some started to believe that NASCAR wasn't telling the full truth. People began asking what really happened inside that car. Some track workers said Earnhardt might have still had a pulse when medics arrived. Others said he was already gone. The timelines didn't match. NASCAR said he died instantly, but early hospital reports hinted at efforts to revive him. Then came the autopsy. It confirmed the skull fracture, but not much more. Soon after, the photos were sealed. Florida passed a law that blocked the release of autopsy images. Dale's widow, Teresa Earnhardt, pushed for the law. She said it was about protecting the family. Critics said it kept the truth hidden. Medical staff were told not to speak to the press. Questions kept building. Why wasn't the crash investigated independently? And why did everything move so fast? Before people could ask more. Before the crash, the warnings were already there. Other drivers had died from the same injury. In 1999, Adam Petty lost his life in a crash at New Hampshire. Just weeks later, Kenny Irwin Jr. was killed at the same track. In 2000, Tony Roper died after a crash in Texas. All of them suffered basilar skull fractures. Experts raised alarms. They said NASCAR needed better safety gear. They pushed for head and neck restraint systems. One of them was called the HANS device. It fit around the shoulders and connected to the helmet. It helped stop the head from whipping forward during impact. But many drivers refused to wear it. Some thought it was too bulky. Others believed it would slow their reaction time. Earnhardt was one of them. He didn't like how it felt. He said it made him feel trapped in the car. NASCAR didn't force the issue. At the time, using the HANS was optional. Officials said it was up to the teams. Even as more deaths happened, the rule didn't change. Some insiders believed the league worried about image. They didn't want racing to look too cautious. Some sponsors didn't want to see drivers strapped into extra gear. They wanted the sport to feel fast and free. After Earnhardt's death, that changed. NASCAR made the HANS device mandatory. They introduced stronger seats, better padding, and new helmet rules. But for many, it came too late. Dale had always raced on the edge, but he trusted the system around him. And when it failed, people began to wonder why those changes hadn't come sooner. People who were at the track that day said something felt different. Dale showed up like he always did, calm, focused, and confident. But some said he spoke less than usual. He walked the garage with his head down, quiet and reserved. A few team members noticed he wasn't joking around like normal. That wasn't like him. In the hours before the race, there were changes made to his car. Crew members worked on the harness. Some say the seat was adjusted that weekend. The padding around the headrest had been changed. The harness may have been rerouted slightly to improve comfort. The changes weren't made public. NASCAR didn't review the setup afterward. There were also reports that Dale had concerns about the car's handling. Earlier in the week, he had said the steering felt tight. The number 3 team was always private. They kept things in-house. But after the crash, those small details felt bigger. Some wondered if the seat adjustments had weakened the belt, or if the harness failed because of how it was installed. Others questioned why NASCAR didn't perform a deeper investigation. The car was quickly removed and taken away. It was never rebuilt. It was never shown publicly. In time, most of those details faded from memory, but the people who were there still remember the feeling that something wasn't right, and they still wonder what might have been missed. After the crash, the investigation moved fast. NASCAR announced the findings within weeks. They said it was a tragic accident. The seatbelt was listed as a possible cause. They pointed to the torn harness and the angle of the impact, but not everyone agreed. Experts questioned how the belt could have failed under normal conditions. Some said the damage happened after the crash, not during it. NASCAR shifted attention to new safety rules, but the questions didn't stop there. Dale Earnhardt stayed mostly silent. She later went to court to block the release of Dale's autopsy photos. Some supported her decision. Others said it kept key evidence hidden. No lawsuits were filed against NASCAR. There was no federal investigation. The crash was treated as closed. But within the garage, people had doubts. Drivers whispered about what really happened. Crew chiefs pointed to changes made in the car before the race. Journalists tried to dig deeper, but many were blocked. Access was denied and medical reports were limited. Some who spoke out said they were warned to stop. At the time, NASCAR was entering its peak. Sponsors were everywhere and ratings were at an all-time high. A major safety scandal could have hurt the brand. Some believe that's why so little was released. To protect the league and to protect the image of the sport's biggest name. For years, the silence held, but the questions never left, and the story behind Dale Earnhardt's final race only became more mysterious with time. Dale Earnhardt's legacy is still felt today. His name lives on in racing history. Statues and tributes still honor him at every track, but the crash that took his life remains surrounded by doubt. Could his death have been prevented? Were safety changes delayed too long? And why were so many voices around him told to stay quiet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for further updates and click the next video on screen now for another interesting story.